That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about F9, the 9th chapter in the Fast saga, which is directed by Justin Lin, returning to the franchise after having done 3, 4, 5, and 6, but not 7 and 8, or 1 and 2, which is being released courtesy of Universal June 25th, 2021.
So if you are a fan of the franchise and know like the universe and all the characters and the interplays, then this review is not for you.
Yeah, just shut it off now.
Yeah, because I'm neither of those things. I think I've only maybe watched like 2 films from this franchise.
I saw the first one. I was in high school when it came out, and we saw Fast 6 or F6 because Doug Benson did an interruption of it at Cinematography.
So I saw an altered version of 1.
And that's the only time I've seen it. And I've seen Furious 7 and The Fate of the Furious. Which,
all right.
Furious 7 was directed by James Wan, and I watched that because Kurt Russell's in it. And Fate of the Furious was F. Gary Gray.
Okay. The basic story is...
And you've seen Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, we'll talk about Hobbs and Shaw. The basic story is, it revolves around Vin Diesel and his brother, who is played by John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're at odds. And we get quite a bit of backstory on the two of them relating to their dad.
Mm-hmm.
So 1989, their dad was a NASCAR driver.
Mm-hmm.
And one day he gets into a fiery crash while racing and dies. Initially, they blame the other driver who hit him, who's kind of an asshole. And Vin Diesel assaults that other driver, which lands him in prison for a time.
He's not played by Vin Diesel at this point.
No, there are other actors cast who I'm sure we'll get into why this film does things to like on purpose to be nonsensical. But the actor playing Vin Diesel in the flashback is taller than Vin Diesel, and the actor playing John Cena is shorter.
Well, I think maybe because he's not he's a younger teenager.
Really,
Yeah.
I thought he was like 18. Right?
Oh, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
You grow till you're 25, right?
Sure. Anyway, Vin Diesel gets put in prison. While he's in there, he learns, or he comes to the realization that his brother did something to the fuel line, mm-hmm. which is what caused the accident. Mm-hmm. So now he believes my brother killed our dad. So when Vin Diesel gets out of prison, he goes straight back home, and we see him show up at a drag race where he knows John will be. And he confronts his brother in this dramatic, like, beat it video type. And he says, I know you killed our dad because you did something to the fuel line. Mm-hmm. So we're going to race it out. Which is the worst scene in the film for me. And probably the worst plot point I can think of in a movie ever. He says, I know you killed our dad. We're going to race it out. If you win, you can stay as part of the family. If you lose, then you have to keep driving and never come back. They race. John loses and just drives off. Mm-hmm. Okay, then we go back to present time, and we see that the character Kurt Russell plays,
Mr. Nobody.
Mr. Nobody. He was transporting Charlize Theron's character somewhere. And
Cipher.
And the plane got hijacked, and he sent a video message to the F9 crew. So all the suspects, the Vin Diesel, all those people, saying that he needs help. Okay, so they decide to, and you can get into like what Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez were doing, but they all decide to get together to help Mr. Nobody. Mr. Somebody?
To locate him.
Mr. Nowhere, whatever his name is.
No, Mr. Nobody.
Mr. Nobody. So they go, and what has happened is John Cena and some other rich guy are attempting to get this orb, like pieces to an orb that will allow them access to a satellite that can transmit like malware that will...
It's a weapon system control.
Something that would give them like ultimate power because they can control all systems. So they're nefarious, right?
It's almost it would operate almost like a virus malware thing, and then take over, and then they will be in control of the world.
Sure, but obviously the F9 crew stops it. The end. No, that's the story.
Sure, yeah.
Something bad's gonna happen. They do a bunch of racing and fighting. They end up shooting themselves into space, into outer space.
Yeah,
we'll get into it. But they destroy
Luda and Tyrese in space, yeah.
Luda and Tyrese in space. They destroy the satellite that would have transmitted the signal. And that's the end. They're all back being a happy family. The end of the film before the credits is they're all together having hot dogs and whatever at someone's house. And then there's one person who's missing, and this person shows up. And I don't know who this person's supposed to be because he shows up in like a blue car.
I thought that was supposed to be Jakob.
Paul Walker?
John Cena. Paul Walker's dead. He's gone.
Oh, even in the franchise he's dead?
Yeah.
Oh. So why didn't they show him getting out the car then?
I have no idea.
Because that car was little. That big ass man wouldn't fit in that little.
Maybe I'm wrong.
No, you can because they didn't tell you. Like how are we?
Also, at 143 minutes, I'm
assuming people who are fans of the franchise probably recognize. I was assuming that the car that pulled up is reference to a car in another film, but I don't know.
So this is this franchise.
Well, and I was gonna say after the credits, we see Jason Statham.
Yes.
Like boxing. What do you call that thing? That people hit
the pugilist,
a boxing bag.
Yeah,
and then inside of it is a person he's beating up.
And then Han shows up at his doorstep.
Okay.
Played by
and then really quickly, we were told like, oh, there are a lot of like spoilers and cameos. Whatever, don't ruin it. So that's why we're not dropping the video until the movie comes out.
Well, spoilers is ironic because this whole damn franchise is spoiled. But
okay. But the only spoilers I could think of, since I don't know the franchise, is the character Han, who everyone assumed had died in a car crash, is back.
I think in F6.
Okay, and I mean Jason Statham shows up at the end just boxing a person. Helen Mirren shows up
as Queenie, but she's already she made a cameo as Jason Statham's mother before.
And then Cardi B is in the movie. She plays like an Interpol agent who helps save Vin Diesel at one point. And I thought that she was actually the most... My biggest problem with this film is not how stupid the story is, because that's what people like about it. And I like stupid shit too. But I just think that the acting is so terrible.
Oh, it is, yeah.
And like these people have no charisma.
Uniqueness, nerve, or talent.
No comedic timing. But I thought actually Cardi B probably had the most vivacious performance. She was the only one who seemed happy making this movie.
She seemed very enthusiastic to be there, and it was like a little...
It was refreshing.
A little bump of Coke.
It was refreshing. Mm-hmm. Okay, now you can go off.
So... This franchise is an accidental franchise because if the first movie was a hit. Paul Walker showed up for Too Fast, Too Furious, directed by John Singleton, but not Vin Diesel. And then I believe the one after that, Tokyo Drift, where Justin Lin entered, was the other way around. And they flip flop on cast. It feels very much like Lady Winchester's house, like all these rooms just stacked on top of one another without any rhyme or reason. And so now we have this kind of weirdly cannibalized system of people. Increasingly more major stars have come to populate the franchise and kind of shoved the originals back on the back burner. And I think this is, along with the director coming back, a way to bring them to the surface while there's other tangent films like Hobbs and Shaw. And because this is the first time, because Kurt Russell, Charlize is really
prominent.
Not really.
No?
She has a couple scenes, but this
is she in the other ones?
She's in 7 and 8.
She is?
Yeah.
Oh.
You never saw the film? Oh, her haircut in this is very Robin.
Oh my God, it's
body language era.
It's so bad.
But
because that kind of haircut could be done very well if it's like the right kind of blonde. But she's in 3 of these movies now.
That hair looked like the top of her.
They should take her Oscar back.
She had cornrows or dreads in one of them. Anyhow, so what we also have are 3 characters I didn't see Tokyo Drift, but in looking like, why the hell Bow Wow or Shad Moss and Lucas Black and Jason Tobin show up? They were in Tokyo Drift, and they are...
Bow Wow looks like he's been eating well, which is good for him.
As Twinkie.
And his name is Twinkie.
I was more... I guess I haven't seen Lucas Black in a while, who was, of course, the sweetest little kid in Sling Blade. He was in a series I liked that I think was only around one season called American Gothic. They have him styled. He looks like...
He needs to allow himself to go bald.
He looks like the human personification of Homer Simpson in this.
And then his facial hair was lined up in such a precise way that always looks so crazy for people who, like these characters who look like they don't care about those kind of things. But anyway.
It is just, what I think, this is empty calorie cinema, and what it does is kind of beat your brain into submission, though, in how inane it is. Because I'm sitting there listening to this pattern of dialogue that's going on where people are talking at one another and they're not even having the same conversation. I guess if I had to pick out a favorite scene for being entertaining in the wrong way, it's when, because this notably is the first time Michelle Rodriguez, who I think fares the best because she's the least ridiculous this time.
Yeah.
When her and Jordana Brewster have never shared a scene together in this franchise, so they make them go to Tokyo to look for Han. And they're supposedly eating ramen, and it's these two ladies, and we're watching them like very awkwardly play with the food while they're talking. So I was distracted by that as Jordana eats like just this prig of lettuce, and then they leave all the food there, which annoyed me too. But Michelle Rodriguez is talking because at the beginning of the film, Letty and Dom are hiding out with his kid, and for the life of me, I cannot remember who mothered his child. Even though I think I was privy to that in the film. And they're hiding out, and they have to make the kid hide when visitors come, and it's Tyrese and company. And she's telling Jordana Brewster about how we didn't used to hide, I wasn't feeling good about this. Jordana Brewster is looking at her dead behind the eyes and says, well, Dom's my brother, but you've always been my sister. What? Like...
Yeah. Okay, so what...
And Toretto, I'm so tired of the Toretto stuff, and because all I can think of is Totino and pizza rolls and how there should be a drinking game. John Cena doesn't match his brother. They're giving Charlize this, what's supposed to be like sexy, insidious dialogue where she's this criminal mastermind who's saying to John Cena that I've never seen the Scandinavian blood in your bloodline. Oh, it's...
But it's supposed... I mean, we know these films are going to be bad. We know they have ridiculous... action sequences. I will say that the film looks expensive. The action sequences are well done for what they are.
Sure.
I think the issue for me is like it's just boring watching these people who have like no charisma. Vin Diesel looks crazy as hell. He looks like a turtle out of its shell. They have him dressed like it's 1997. He's wearing these like ribbed muscle shirts, but he's not in fighting form. Like, he just looks crazy. He's wearing, like, these baggy... He looks very dated and crazy. Then you have... Michelle Rodriguez, I thought, looked nice.
Yeah, I think
Like, I thought it looked nice. Her makeup looked nice. Her hair, like... She looked nice. Jordana Brewster looks hungry. Ludacris looks sedated. And his acting is not good.
Well, I have to say, the screenwriters... Daniel Casey, who wrote a film called Kin, which is semi-decent, and Justin Lin, it's like they had to struggle to find things for these characters to say because there's no real characterization.
And Tyrese is supposed to be like... I don't know if he's like this in every movie.
Yes.
But like he's supposed to be funny. He's not funny. So the scene that I think will probably get the attention, because the one film I have seen, there's that like the plane on the tarmac.
I think that's the one we saw with Doug Benson.
Oh, yeah. Where it's like 20 minutes of this plane like trying to take off. I think the equivalent in this film is Bow Wow and the two other guys who we meet for a brief moment work with like rocket engines. Mm-hmm. So when the team realizes they have to get up to this satellite, they're like, well, I guess we're going to have to get on a spaceship. Well, how are we going to do that? I know. So they strap a rocket ship like whatever, to a Pontiac Fiero, like a 1987 Pontiac Fiero, put it on top of like a plane, fly them into the sky, and then shoot them off into space. And so then this Pontiac Fiero is in space with Ludacris and Tyrese.
Talking about how they're obeying the laws of physics.
And they don't have astronaut suits, so they're wearing like Jacques Cousteau, like deep diving suits, which Ludacris says like, the only thing that could happen is that these are going to blow up like balloons, which they do. And then someone comments, oh, it looks like a minion. But that's probably going to be the same people talk about as being ridiculous. There are some other ones where there's a chase scene near some cliffs and Vin Diesel's character somehow attaches like a rope to the car. So then the car swings like Tarzan. I know none of it's supposed to make sense, but the thing that drove me the most crazy is the bad guys use some sort of magnet, like some super powerful magnet, and the F9 crew end up taking that magnet and using it for their own benefit. And how they do it is they put it inside of their cars, and that's how they like flip the bad guy's vehicle. But I didn't understand how this magnet worked, because in one scene, who's the British lady who does all the tech stuff?
Oh, Ramsey, the character?
Yeah, with the corn.
Yeah. Who didn't show up until the 7th film, I think?
She, at one point, is driving the van with all the magnets in it, and she has control of turning it on and off. So there's one point where she turns it on and is driving down the busy streets of London, I think. And it's like pulling people's watches and like jewelry off. But then in some scenes when she does it, entire cars are like attracted to the magnet. So I hated how that worked. Then the final scene where they have to like destroy the big vehicle the bad guy's in to get the orb, they use the magnets in like a very extended chase sequence to like flip other vehicles, and I just didn't. Maybe.
And that's where John Cena's cohorts turn on him, and he receives his redemption with his brother during the car chase.
Oh my God! And the reason they were able to reconcile is because they come to the understanding that the dad asked John Cena to rig the car so that they could lose the race on purpose, because his dad had financial problems and someone was going to pay him out for losing. So he never intended for his dad to die. Although
that seems like a pretty big thing that they could have talked about, especially because they have Jordana Brewster as their sister, as a supposed intermediary at one point, to say like, hey, I didn't try to kill my dad.
Lastly, again, I know that this franchise has a format, so anyone watching this video probably isn't a fan, but I hate how it jumps. Like, it's just from one country to the next, like to an entirely different scenario. And for someone who doesn't know the franchise or the universe, I was so confused. I didn't know what was going on. I don't know why we needed Helen Mirren. The only thing Helen Mirren does is we see her stealing like jewelry. We don't see her steal jewelry. We see her wearing jewelry she just stole. And then she steals a car to get away from the police coming. And then that's when she sees Vin Diesel and literally gives him a ride to his next location.
Which is this mansion where John Cena's holed up in, and outside looks like just a bunch of video hoes drinking.
I'm tired of talking about this movie. Do you have anything else?
No.
What would you give it?
0.5 out of 5. Because you can't go lower.
I would give it 1 out of 5. Just because the chase sequences and the action. If I rented this like from Redbox, or it was free on like HBO Max, I don't think I'd be as frustrated. But if I paid my little $20 plus parking.
But that's the thing. They have all the bells and whistles. There is no reason that a decent story and decent characters can't be well attentioned.
This movie's going to make all the money when it opens, and people are going to leave nasty comments on this video. The fans who like it, I mean, they don't care that it's bad, so it's like,
well, then
who cares what I think? But
same, but it's just kind of mind-boggling that it persists much, like herpes,
like syphilis,
herpes,
or
flares up.
Well, virus, yeah. Anyway, bye.
Bye.